attribution models as we know it will probably go out the door, and AI is going to start taking over the attribution model, and it's going to be a bit more related to channel and what we expect from each of those channels based on how AI has seen those channels function for us in each stage of the cycle or of the funnel. Going back to AI role that the human plays in campaign creation is going to truly evolve. We're going to see humans start to play more of that creative role, and we're going to be accepting, some maybe foundational work from AI for the audiences that we're wanting to go after, or some base messaging that we want to use within our campaigns. But then our role is going to be doing research as to what has not been used yet in the market. What is a unique way to get this message across to that audience that other companies might not yet have tried? AI is also going to help us make everything very specific to the person that we're sending it to, including digital ads, marketing emails, sales outreach, and even direct mailers. I think are going to get a lot more personalized than we've currently seen. And again, just the evolving role of the campaign manager as we know it today. We're really building everything from the ground up. And I think it's going to evolve to we're going to be responsible for making those campaigns unique and personalized and standing out from competitors versus having to do all of the nitty-gritty work that builds the foundation of the campaign.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the OnBase podcast. I'm your host, Chris Moody, and today we're very excited to have Chelsea Wells with us to talk about scaling success with AI, attribution, and demand gen strategies. Chelsea, thanks for joining us today and welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, we're very glad to have you. I loved our chat before we even started and hit record. So now we're in the real recording. The first question we like to talk about and start with is what led you to what you're doing today? So a little bit about the journey, and you can take that anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got my BBA with a focus in marketing at the University of Texas at Austin, where I also got a certificate in global management. And during my time there, I actually ended up joining a business association where they pair you with a local company in Austin to help them solve real life business problems. And that company actually ended up being my first real full-time job after college, and also the place where I met my mentor who's helped shape my career. So a really rewarding experience. For the first 6 years of my career too, I worked in SaaS cybersecurity, really wearing all of the hats you can imagine across the demand generation functions. So getting involved in things like events, webinars, digital ads, even some marketing operations. But I've always been challenging myself and pushing myself to do better in my career. I definitely have a pretty large drive for wanting to set goals and accomplish them as soon as possible. So about 2 years ago, I got my MBA at SMU. And during that time, I also started looking for a career path that would really challenge me and get me to that next level of marketing that I knew I could achieve. And that ultimately led me to my position here at MasterControl. It's actually my first position that I've been in that is solely ABM focused. So I have been doing ABM within each role since I've really started my career within demand generation. It also allowed me to step into a people manager role as well for the first time, which is really fun and extremely rewarding.
I love the background. I especially love that the project you were on turned into your first full-time job. I have a very similar story from grad school. So when I did my MBA, that led to the first several years of my career. So that's really cool to see. Lots of cool conversations around ABM to have here as well. The fact that you were doing it, now it's in your title. We've seen research over the years that said that's one of the top indicators of success, to have someone dedicated to account base. I love hearing all of these things. Let's start off with the challenges. What is the biggest roadblock in operationalizing AI to make sure that we have scalable, high quality campaign creation? And the key here is high quality. Without even looking at what we were going to talk about today or us having this conversation, I had just said, we're trying to scale high quality things when we were talking before you hit record. So I'd love to hear the biggest challenge to getting us to the scalable, high quality campaigns.
Absolutely. And I think there's 3 key challenges that I've really noticed, but The biggest of those three is really data quality as well as accessibility. I think we've all seen that, AI models or AI platforms are only as good as the information that you feed them. So whenever your data is not clean, whenever it comes to your accounts, contacts, opportunities, AI might not be able to really help you develop the best fit campaign for your audience or for the goals that your company is trying to achieve. So you really want to make sure that all of your data is accurate and clean wherever you're hosting it. In addition to that, for accessibility, if you're really wanting AI to get into the nitty gritty of, how well are your LinkedIn awareness ads or your demand-based display ads performing, and wanting to rely on it to help you optimize or even recommend like increasing budget or switching up messaging, you have to make sure that AI has access to that level of data as well, which can be difficult if you have like 5 different platforms and you're wanting to get to that level of impressions or click-through rates or clicks. But that's really what it is going to take for it to inform you the appropriate, accurate strategy to reach your audience and make those tweaks as you're going. Past the data quality and accessibility, the next barrier that I see is really compliance and data privacy. We're feeding it all of this data again for your contacts, your accounts, your opportunities, the pain points your customers might be facing so that it can develop messaging that's the most relevant for that audience for that specific campaign. So you want to make sure that the AI tool that you choose does have compliance that your company needs to make sure that you're not, violating any data privacy laws or anything of that sort. And you really need to trust that tool that you're using. The last one, which I feel like is probably more relevant for those that are very hands-on for campaigns right now, is human oversight as well as creativity. I think as more teams turn to using AI for campaign ideation and creation, AI tools, again, are working off of the information that you feed them or that other companies might be training them on as well. So it might be more likely to feed, or I guess, use that information and suggest more traditional demand generation strategies to you rather than, I guess, recommending more unique strategies that other companies may not have thought of. So you really want to maintain a human in the loop that ensures that that AI output is really applied thoughtfully and then also just enhanced with unique insights that really help your campaign stand out from your competitors.
Great answer there. I am a big fan of the kind of creativity that you were just hitting on too, because I do think the more we all search for efficiency and scale, the more repeatable a lot of the plays become. And then we might be doing the exact same campaigns. So making sure that we find the ways to break through and the uniqueness, that's a huge element. The personalization there, really knowing you, Chelsea, versus, hey, here's a person at this account. Let's run this play that we run 4 people at that account. So that is a great conversation that we can certainly dive into more. I know that you want to hit on attribution too. And this is always a trap. There is no perfect attribution model, in my opinion, but it's a challenge every single time. How does the attribution model that you pick help you determine how channels are influenced and campaign strategy should be measured?
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. There's not really a perfect attribution model, but hopefully that's something AI can help us with as we start to operationalize it and use it. But I think that the best thing to keep in mind is that, each channel that you're using really plays a function within certain phases of the funnel. There may be some channels that do play a function within each area of that funnel, but just going back to that example of like LinkedIn or demand-based awareness ads, those are really going to help with the top of funnel metrics. But if you're measuring based off of last touch attribution, you may see that, oh, those don't perform at all. We're going to take budget away from that. But then you might end up filling your top of funnel to then generate those last touches that contribute to opportunities. So I think it's important to, make sure that you are using an attribution model that will measure channels according to the intended outcome from them. So if you're using any channels that are supposed to drive top of funnel metrics, make sure that you're measuring those accordingly. Maybe those should be based off of a first touch attribution. But then if you're doing more mid to bottom funnel tactics like events or even webinars, things of that sort, make sure that you're measuring them with mid funnel or bottom funnel metrics or attribution. I personally really like to use equal touch attribution or multi-touch attribution, but I think there's something to be said about even using channel specific attribution, just so you know you're measuring them effectively and fairly and allowing that to inform how you should be actually spending your budget in an effective way that's not hurting other areas of the funnel. Because if you're not measuring them in the appropriate way, you may end up allocating budget in a way that is not the most effective or not the most aligned with your goals. So then you might be driving a lot of top of funnel, but you're not converting them down funnel, or vice versa. You're driving more bottom funnel, but you're not filling the top of your funnel. So next quarter, you might end up being a bit short.
Good stuff there. I love that conversation. I'm a huge dork for measuring things side by side. I just did 3 videos about this on LinkedIn. You'll have to watch them when we're done with this. But
Yeah,
I think that's one of the most important points that you hit on too. While no single model may be perfect, measure all the things and find the insights and figure out what works where, which stage of the funnel, and then have the conversations. I think that's a very important piece. So I love that answer there. I'm curious, we've all seen the Scott Brinker charts with the tech landscape and how it's grown at some ridiculous multiple over the years. Every single industry has tons and tons of competitors now. I'm curious, as we think about the potential saturation of competitors who may be running similar strategies, how do ABM and go to market strategies evolve when we start to think about the very competitive landscape we're in and we all have access to AI? We're all trying to figure out attribution. How do you think our strategies are going to change?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So a lot of I think the digital landscape is just oversaturated at this point as well. So whenever it comes to that, you really want to make sure that your ads and messaging directly resonate with the audience that you're going after. So again, needing to hone in on those unique go-to-market strategies, making sure that your message resonates but also stands out. You also want to make sure that you have a good mix of strategies as well. So physical touches versus digital touches, and approaching your audience in a way that is just much different than what they might anticipate, and just testing new strategies constantly. And I also think that going back to like AI, that the I guess role that the human plays in campaign creation is going to truly evolve. We're going to see humans start to play more of that creative role, and we're going to be accepting, some maybe foundational work from AI for the audiences that we're wanting to go after, or some base messaging that we want to use within our campaigns. But then our role is going to be doing research as to like what has not been used yet in the market. What is a unique way to get this message across to that audience that other companies might not yet have tried?
Yeah, I think that's a really important one. I was going to ask a similar question, and I think you answered it. I'm going to ask it just in case you have anything else you want to add on it. But I think that's such an important distinction of what we all should be doing personally, not just with the tools that we use and with AI as our assistant. And the question, which you just hit on, but if there's anything else you want to add, it's what balance do you think needs to be struck between the technology driven strategies and the traditional marketing fundamentals to stay competitive?
Yeah, I think that that's really dependent on the audience that you're targeting. So I think that there's still some audiences that the digital advertising plays still really resonate with. And then there's some audiences that might resonate a bit better with more of those physical or in-person touches. And it's up to you to really do like surveys or polls to understand what they may care about or what might grab their attention a bit better. But I also wouldn't just solely rely on surveys or polls either. I would also make sure that you're constantly testing those strategies. I feel like a good marketing campaign is going to have a decent mix of both physical as well as digital, but which one you should be relying on most just depends completely on the audience that you're going after, and whether those touches, that are digital would work better top of funnel or bottom funnel versus physical touches. I think they all kind of play their own part within the funnel stage according to those personas that you're going after.
Let's take that into some steps, which everyone loves key takeaways or steps to follow. What are some practical steps that we should all take to incorporate AI into our campaign creation without sacrificing quality?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to, before you even like start diving into all of the AI tools, really map out like what does your campaign workflow look like in current state. Then identify, what areas do you think the AI could help you either scale those campaigns or incorporate more personalization or customization depending on the type of campaign you're wanting to go to market with. And once you have that completely mapped out, you can just, start to identify, these are the AI tools that we need, and these are the areas that we should plug them into. And then just make sure that you're comparing a bunch of different AI tools against each other. There are so many in the market now that do so many different things. It's kind of hard to get a handle on sometimes, but just making sure you're testing them and also using the same inputs in each of those platforms so that you can compare the outputs a bit more accurately to understand which AI tool is really going to have the most impact in your campaign workflows that you're wanting to make a bit more efficient or effective. Once you've decided on those AI tools, I think it's important to kind of go back to the drawing board. What do our campaign workflows look like now that we have these AI tools? Map out what that looks like. Where is there a need for human review? You really want to make sure that you're training your team that's going to be involved in those AI tools on, how to draft the perfect prompt for the outcome that you're expecting. Also, just how to use the tools in general. And then also, I think I've hit on it a couple times now, but making sure that you always have a human in the loop whenever you are using AI workflows, just to make sure you're always putting that creative or unique spin on things and not just, taking what it's giving you and putting it directly into market. You still want to make sure that, you have the right brand feel, but you're also being unique compared to everyone else that might also be using these AI tools.
Perfect. And Chelsea, we talked a little bit about celebrating wins and marketing our own marketing before we hit record. I would love to put you on the spot and have you share an example of a successful initiative that you've worked on at MasterControl that we can all learn from.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one campaign that I've been working on is a one to few ABM campaign that is targeting an industry sub segment, which has been really fun. We've seen some really quick wins and quick funnel movement as well as opportunity creation. And I think a key driver of success for this campaign was because we used an equal touch attribution model. It really gave me a full view into every single channel that any opportunity was touching before it became an opportunity, so that I could then go back and see what that full journey looked like. And not every account took that same journey. But what I noticed kind of across the board was that each opportunity used a very good mix of channels, which I haven't always seen in the past. And I thought that that was really cool that we're leveraging every channel possible to create success here. In addition to that, I also use that mix of digital as well as physical touches. And something that I found interesting was that I really needed to incorporate more of those physical traditional touches that we used like maybe 6 to 10 years ago before the whole digital boom. So that's something that, again, I don't think I found like the perfect mix of channels and the exact appropriate order to be using them in. But it's just cool to see that we're starting to really nail down the mix of channels that contributes to opportunities, as well as incorporating new strategies that we might not have done had we not been constantly testing and trying to uncover new ways that we can improve our performance.
Awesome. That's a big one. I'm huge on, well, I call it swag. Someone on my team said merch. It's merch. It's not just swag. But, something you can put your hands on, something that's thoughtful and you'll actually use, not just throw away in the hotel lobby. So I love that. And then we've seen a ton over the years that getting people to hosted events is one of the strongest closing motions. So we might track all the digital signals, but how do we get those people to events? I love talking about that and geeking out on that. It's awesome that you're doing that at Master Control.
I love that you mentioned too, like incorporating swag that they'll actually use and not throw away. I feel like that's something that sometimes is missed. And one thing I really incorporated into this campaign was actually a swag item that they would not only use, but they would hopefully use in their everyday work life to hopefully make their lives a bit easier, but then also keep that brand recognition inside the company. So hopefully someone will ask, who's MasterControl?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I have look 2 items that I'm testing right here. We talked about messy desk, but literally, I have to put my hands on things sometimes and make sure, hey, would I be excited to get this? And hopefully, everyone else is. So yeah, little OCD there. It's okay. We're gonna make sure it's really good. I would love to look ahead a bit and understand in the spaces of account based marketing, go to market strategies, what are the innovations or trends that you think are going to define the next era?
I think that's a really good question as well. I think one that we touched on at the very beginning of the interview, and I kind of made a joke about, was AI driven attribution. I think that we're going to see a huge increase in the use of AI tools for building the foundation of campaigns, but not only building the foundation of those campaigns, also increasing the AI analysis of how campaigns are working on a more granular level. So they should be telling us how to optimize campaigns within real time as it's ingesting that data. And I think attribution models as we know it will probably go out the door, and AI is going to start taking over the attribution model, and it's going to be a bit more related to channel and what we expect from each of those channels based on how AI has seen those channels function for us in each stage of the cycle or of the funnel. So that'll be really interesting. I also think we're going to continue to see this increase of hyper personalized touches since we're going to be able to scale our campaigns a lot more efficiently using AI. I think AI is also going to help us make everything very specific to the person that we're sending it to, including digital ads, marketing emails, sales outreach, and even direct mailers. I think are going to get a lot more personalized than we've currently seen. And again, just the evolving role of the campaign manager as we know it today. We're really building everything from the ground up. And I think it's going to evolve to we're going to be responsible for making those campaigns unique and personalized and standing out from competitors versus having to, do all of the nitty gritty work that builds the foundation of the campaign for figuring out who is the most effective audience to be targeting, what is that, basic messaging that we should go to market with.
Everything you said resonates with me because what would we pay attention to? And it is something that's personal and something that stands out. And it made me think of a different episode too. Samantha McKenna, she has a phrase, show me you know me. And that's the whole point she's trying to make. It's that personalization. And hey, if I know that Chelsea lives in, well, I won't say exactly where you live, around Austin ish, Dallas, somewhere in there. I know where you live. So, how do I use that personalized information when we know where you went to school for undergrad and grad school and how important T. Austin was for your career journey, right? Like, what would I do if I'm trying to reach you with that information versus put in campaign number 26, right?
Yeah.
It's just a totally different feel. So I think that is something I'm personally excited about. Hopefully, we can all raise to meet that bar that you're setting.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's something I love about ABM too, is that it really helps, cut through the noise because you get to that personal level with each contact that you're wanting to get in touch with.
Perfect. All right. We are in the lightning round. This means we have a little bit of time left, so you can be quicker with these answers here. Think Family Feud without the pressure. I don't have a buzzer sound. I've done that on stage before. It's actually a lot of fun to be in control of the buzzer and just do that for people, but sellers love it. It was a big hit with our sales team. What is the biggest challenge in B2B sales? You can only pick one thing.
I would say probably the inadequate or inaccurate insight that we might be getting from contacts or accounts in terms of intent.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, everybody loves a good data integrity issue. What about tech? So, your favorite tools or technology that you're using today?
I really do love using demand base. It's definitely made my life a bit easier in terms of orchestration and figuring out that account intent that is serving the earlier issue. I also love Domo for just being able to see all of our data in one place, and again, that's helping with those attribution models and being able to switch between attribution views. And then I actually haven't personally gotten to use Converter for too long, but I did like the tool Converter because it does help you get leads put into your system much faster than having to do the typical wait on the batch of leads, go through the whole process of importing them. So you get them in as close to real time as you can.
Awesome. What about good reads? We're generous with reads too, Chelsea. So it could be book, blog, newsletter, podcast, video, any form of content. But what are some of your favorites?
I would say I do like the on-base sessions, and it sounds like there's a few I need to go back and catch up on after the conversation. I also really like the ABM answered webinars as well. And then one that I haven't gotten to start yet, but I've heard good things about is B2B Bites.
Awesome. Great choices there. What about the same question for people? Who inspires you, especially in the B2B space?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'd say a lot of the people that I currently work with are honestly extremely inspiring to me. So I would say our CMO, Kelly Starman, is a rock star, as well as our VP of demand generation, Cassidy Milder. They're just absolutely phenomenal at their jobs and extremely inspiring to me. And it's always great to hear everything they've done in their past, everything that helped them get to where they are today. So, yeah, those are probably my top two at the moment.
Outstanding. And the most important question of all, Chelsea, very last one. How can everyone get in touch with you after this podcast?
I'd say LinkedIn is probably the best way to reach out to me. As we all know, inboxes are pretty cluttered these days. So, LinkedIn is a bit easier for me to go in and see everyone that's trying to reach out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. You did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really had a lot of fun.
Thank you.